What's up, GameLeapers? It's the Jizz, and today we're going to be updating you on the 10 best top laners for 12.5b. And let me just say that some of these picks have some pretty interesting builds and rune pages, and let me tell you, some of these are freelo. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for the whole video, so make sure you do so, and also make sure you check out the GameLeap website linked in the description and comment section. For your League of Legends needs, we have the best challenger players and coaches from around the world, uploading up to 20 videos a week to the website. So these might be champion courses and guides that teach you how to master a champion, and even some high elo VOD analyses where we talk through what the best players do in terms of micro and macro so you can implement their strategies in your games. So get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the countdown. Now, starting off at number 10, we're going to talk about Irelia, because to be honest, in pretty much every elo, Irelia in the top lane is still a top tier champion. But it's still the case where Conqueror is outperforming Lethal Tempo because you do probably have enough attack speed from your passive. It's a bit overkill. This gives us a bit more power in the top lane because Conqueror max stacks is very OP. So hitting this should be easy enough, and of course we want Flash and Ignite because we are about winning lane. TP means a little less now because of the teleport change at the start of the season, so this is very important to do. Now, as far as our mythic and core items, we want to be getting a Blade of the Rune King first, which remember got buffed back in 12.3, so it's giving you more on-hit damage. Then after Bork, we want to be getting a shield bow, and after these items you can think about Death's Dance, you can think about Wit's End, Guardian's Angel, Randomins, a bunch of items that just depends on the game you're in. So Irelia comes in at number 10. Now, beating Irelia to number 9 on the countdown is one champion who has honestly been overperforming for so long, and this is Singed. And for Singed, you can see on your screens now, this is in Master and above. So we're talking Conqueror with Nimbus Cloak and Celerity. Very interesting here because you're probably not going to run Nimbus Cloak if you don't have Flash and then Ghost. So by having this much power and movement speed in your kit with Ghost, with Celerity, with Nimbus Cloak, it makes you very annoying and gives you a lot of pressure on the map. And just like I said for Irelia, don't worry about taking Teleport because it has been nerfed so much. We want 2 combat summoner spells, and Ghost is incredibly good in the late game as well because it means we've got less of a chance of getting kited by the enemy ranged champions. And as far as your items go, it's pretty standard stuff. We want to be getting a Demonic Embrace first, followed by a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Demonic is transforming some of that HP we're getting into AP, and then Rylai's, well, it's been buffed. It's 2600 gold, 400 gold cheaper. That was a few patches ago. It's still the same. Now, coming in at number 8, we have one of the more interesting setups for 12.5b, and this is for Quinn in the top lane. And this champion has been so good for so long. One of the reasons why is just because of her kit. She's a ranged champion, she has a Volt, which can disengage. It's pretty much impossible to stick to her, and because of her strong early to mid game, she pretty much gets a free lane, and because of her ultimate, can take over a game very quickly. But the page you see on your screen now, where you might be doing a bit of head scratching, but don't worry, because when you take Electrocute, we want to be pairing this with a lethality build. So I know that UGG is recommending Shield Bow, Greaves, and Wit's End. We want to be going Prowler's Claw, and then Collector, Lord Dominus Regards. So a bunch of lethality items, and what this does is it makes use of the buffed ultimate you got because it's dealing more damage now. Some of that damage is going to get converted into armor penetration when we get a bunch of lethality. This means that against squishy champions, even against top laners who have a lot of armor, we can legit one-shot them, especially in the early game when they don't have that much armor stacked up. And another interesting point of this rune page is the cheap shot purchase, because with the Volt that you have, it means that when you slow the enemy champion, you are going to deal more damage to them. And this can be very often in the top lane because when they jump onto you, you pretty much have to use your E, so this can be a very regular occurrence. So this lethality setup for Quinn at the moment with Flash and Ignite, very interesting, but it works. Look at these numbers, the win rates. So give this a try, guys, in 12.5b, and let me know in the comments if you have already done so. Now, coming in at number 7 on the countdown, honestly, one of the most consistent champions you can pick in the top lane, and this is Shen. He does so well into so many champions, one of them being Irelia, who we just mentioned. And for Shen, ever since Teleport got changed, his ultimate Stand United, it has way too much agency. Because you're one of the few champions who can just ult around the map, you don't have to worry about TPing to towers only. So in the first 14 minutes, once you get to level 6, which will probably be around 5.5 to 6 minutes, you can take over games just by pressing one button. But it's still important to respect Shen's laning phase, because in the early game, he does have some power. With his Taunt, it's very good setup for him and his jungler, and by taking Ignite, you cannot underestimate this champion at all. And as far as your build goes, what's interesting at the moment is that lots of Shen players are going Frostfire Gauntlet into Titanic Hydra. Now, these two work so well together, these items, because Frostfire's mythic passive, which is giving you a bunch of HP for each major item you have, this is going to trigger Titanic's passive, which converts some of that bonus HP you're getting from items and runes and levels into AD. This makes Shen actually hit a lot harder than you think and gives him really good scaling, because each item he's going to get, not only is he getting HP from Frostfire, but he's also getting AD from Titanic. So this gives him the scaling he kind of lacks, because in the late game, he isn't really the best champion. He gets outscaled by a lot of things, but this makes him scary at all stages of a game, so Shen is the number 7. Now coming in at number 6, we have Ellie, who is the first of the Hullbreaker Rush champions, and for Ellie with this item, it is just too good. It's a massive stat stick for her, and because you're one top laner who just wants to split push, you don't want your teammates coming near you. Team fighting can be a little bit awkward, so what we're focusing on with this setup is a super laning phase Ellie, so we have Demolish, so we can take those towers quicker, Hullbreaker as our first item, and what's also interesting is that we're going to be putting 4 points in Q and then maxing our E next. You can see this in 17 matches, and by the way, this is in Master and Above, which is an elo where Ellie typically struggles because people actually have their monitors turned on and they can dodge your Tesla Spirit very easily. So if this has a 94% win rate, this skill order, surely it works, and it definitely does. So Ellie fills the number 6 position, and if it works in Master and Above, it is 100% going to work in every other elo, so make sure you give this a shot. Now starting off the top 5, we're going to talk about a champion who has been on here for ages, and this is Fiora. And ever since Riot changed those bruiser items back in 12.3, so Gore Drinker is giving you more attack damage, Ravenous Hydra is giving you more attack damage, Death Stance is blocking magic damage, and it's going to heal you based off your total attack damage. There's that stat again. More of Malmortius, more attack damage, and Omnivamp as well. These items sound unreal for a bruiser like Fiora, and they are. They make you even more of the grand duelist, which is really what you want, and the rest of this page should come as no surprise to anyone. Very standard rune page with Flash and Ignite, again because we're all about winning lane these days, so Fiora starts off the top 5 very strong at the moment. But one champion who might be able to put Fiora in the dirt, this is the Gravedigger himself, Yorick, and for Yorick, just like Ellie, it is the Hullbreaker Rush. Because Yorick with this item, it is just like the ideal item for him. It's making you stronger in the split push, and just like Ellie's rune page, we want to be taking Demolish as one of our runes, and we also want to be taking Trinity Force as our mythic because it gives us a lot of what we want. It's giving us the Spellblade passive, it's giving us movement speed, attack damage, everything you want on Yorick, that is giving you. And also because it's great for split pushing in terms of the Tower Shred and the 3-fold strike passive, this really empowers Yorick more than maybe any other champion in the top lane, so this is why he has to be in consideration. Just make sure in terms of your summoner spells, you take Ignite and Teleport. Because as Yorick, you are an insane split pusher. Having Teleport gives you so much pressure in the late game, so you can win games on your own. You don't have to rely on your team. You can TP to that side lane towards the enemy nexus and end the game very quickly with your Maiden. Just be a little bit careful in the early game of feeding too much because you don't have an escape in your kit, so let the enemy champion push into you, farm up a storm, and then take over a game. But one champion who might be better than Yorick in 12.5b, and let's be honest, not all of us have time to learn the intricacies of the Gravedigger. Well, coming in at number 3, we have a 1-bar difficulty champion, and this is Trundle. And just like Yorick and Ellie, we are going Hullbreaker at some point, but we want to be going this after our Divine Sunderer, because Sunderer with the Spellblade passive, it's very important for Trundle. This also procs on our Q, as does Lethal Tempo the stacking. We can get to 6 stacks so much quicker than anyone else, and it makes our early game just unbeatable. So what you really want to do, even at level 1, run into the enemy top lane and fight them. This is why obviously we want Ignite as well to pair with our Flash, so this is a very aggressive early game setup. But because we have Hullbreaker and then we want to be getting a Titanic Hydra as well as our 4th item, this gives us the scaling we kind of need as well, because we can fall off and we can get kited very hard. But the good thing is we're playing split pushing Trundle. We don't need to worry about team fighting. We are just staying in the side lane, smashing into the enemy towers until we get to the Nexus and GG. So Trundle, a very strong pick. He takes the number 3 position, but beating him to number 2, the runner-up, and just like Fiora, very similar champion, this is Riven. And ever since Riot changed those items in 12.3, do I need to go through this again? Gore Drinker, Death Stance, more Malmortius, Black Cleaver got buffed as well, more AD, Ability Haste, more Malmortius. Dear me, has there been a patch where Riven has not been good in the last year or two? So what I'm really trying to say is here, guys, if you have the time to learn this champion, and we have a YouTube guide on that, which was released a few weeks ago, you are kind of trolling if you don't, because Riot loves this champion, and she is so broken. 56, 55% win rates all over the place. She is just way too good, and even though Riot have tried to target Gore Drinker and nerfing it, once you get to 2-3 items with the ability haste from Gore Drinker, your E, it's on like a 3-second cooldown in the late game. You are arguably, because of this, the best scaling top laner, and even in the early laning phase, once you get to level 3, you should be sweet. So Riven takes the number 2 position, but who on earth can be number 1 if Riven is number 2? Well, this champion is a lethal tempo abuser, and until Riot actually directly nerf this champion, there is no way Tryndamere is going to be anywhere else on this countdown, because he is that busted with this setup. So what we're talking about is the ultimate sustained Tryndamere. With a Q-Max with second wind, it is impossible to move this guy out of lane, and even if you're in a bad matchup like Trundle for instance, you still have the potential to outscale him because you are Tryndamere. Get to the late game, you can 2-3 hit anyone. This is why we want to be going Gale Force, the Warrior Quick Blades, and then Infinity Edge. And after this point, you really have a choice. You can even consider going Hullbreaker if you feel as if you need the split pushing power, or you can Mango PD, Mortal Reminder, depending if they have healing or not, Death's Dance, Cerulda's Grudge, Mercurial Scimitar for the QSS, just in case they slow your attack speed like maybe a Malphite. So there are lots of possibilities in the build department for Tryndamere, but this champion is heads above everyone else guys in the top lane, and even in the game, he is the #1 most broken for 12.5B. So take these rune pages, the builds, the summoner spells into your games guys. Good luck. Now let me know in the comments if you've played any of these champions, and of course make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss our daily future season 12 uploads. And until tomorrow's, this has been the Jizz. Peace.